Thank you for waking us all up out here, for all you do. And
thank you for giving us a voice.
For being out there helping to keep the constitutional republic.
I want to thank you for
your support for veterans in the military.
Educating us.
Standing up for conservatism.
Giving us the truth.
Daybreak with Drew Steele.
In 2022, RSW set a record for the total number of passengers, despite the severe impact stemming from Hurricane Ian. To be frank, there are many reasons why a record number of Americans are visiting and moving to Southwest Florida. The inherent beauty of RSW speaks for itself. Now imagine the stunning beauty throughout my entire district. I can confidently say that I have the most beautiful district in the country and the best district overall, especially considering how many members come and visit my district.
He's right about that. Congressman Byron Donald mentioning that RSW, is this right? RSW was voted like the number one airport in the country? And America's number one airport, 16-minute wait time, fourth highest passenger satisfaction. New yearly record for the most passengers, and lots to see here. Congressman Byron Donald's joining us on Daybreak, 92.5 Fox News, to talk about this and a whole lot of other things. I like the way you did that. There you are on the House floor, and it's like you all know how awesome we are because you all come to the district to hang out. So I like that. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good, Drew. How you doing? I had to point it out because it's true. Like, there's times I'm getting on a plane to go back to D.C., and on a plane there's a member, and I'm like, hey, like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, I came down to visit for the weekend. Me and my family were here. It's great here. You know, and we get a lot of members who, you know, they retired to Southwest Florida, too. It's a great place.
No, it is. It's awesome. And I love the way you put that. And it's true. And you know, even speaking of the airport, maybe nationally, people can take some lessons from what RSW has been able to do. And certainly the way it's run. And it's nice. And it's nice to be here with everything that has been going on. And even though there are some that, they are just making some of the most hyperbolic statements about the way the states run, the way the governor is, the way it's hysterical to hear some of the things that come out of people, even in D.C. and some on the left, trying to make us look bad when they all know that they're all coming here to visit, moving here, the numbers that we have. That's got to make you laugh sometimes.
Yeah, it does. That's why when they talk about Florida and, you know, they want to, disparage the governor or talk about our state, I just look at them like, dude, you were here 2 weeks ago. If you didn't want, like, what are you talking about? Get out of here, man. If you could choose, you would be here. So,
right.
You know, it's whatever. I mean, that's unfortunately, that's politics. And, you know, my job and, you know, our job, I guess, Drew, is to point out the truth and the facts for people.
Yeah.
So, you know, they make quality political decisions in the future.
Yeah. Here's some truth and facts. I'm going to play a little bit of audio for you from Karine Jean-Pierre, who wants to talk about the Biden policies and fiscal responsibility here. Listen.
When we talk about deficit reduction, when we talk about being fiscally responsible, this is something that the president has talked about since the campaign. And you hear me, just as I did moments ago, talk about the $1.7 trillion deficit that he did the first 2 years.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of fiscal responsibility coming from this administration. So knowing that, then I trust that a lot of what the White House has been talking about and some of the budget plan, the details of the budget plan that's coming out, I'm sure that fiscal responsibility is going to reign supreme. Although I am hearing something about new tax increases. That ought to go over well.
Drew, I mean, I wish people could have seen my double eye roll as she was talking because they keep bringing up that he reduced the deficit by $1.7 trillion. Everybody, listen. When he came, 2021, we had just spent more money in any calendar year than the country's ever spent because the entire economy was shut down. Right. That's what happened. And both parties, Republicans, Democrats, together with President Trump, put through the CARES Act to get money to business owners all across the country because the government actually shut down the economy. The government did it on purpose because of COVID-19. Now, when the next calendar year, when we don't spend as much money because it was an emergency scenario, they're claiming budget, deficit reductions. No, that just means you didn't blow out the spending like that for a second year. But Drew, here's the worst part. Mm-hmm. The spending number should have been significantly more than the $1.7 trillion deficit. It should have been closer to 3. He didn't have to do an American Rescue Plan, which is what started inflation in our economy. That's the trigger point for inflation. Everybody has said it on our side. Larry Summers, who's their economist, has said it. You didn't have to do that. Number 2, his energy policies have been a disaster for the country. And look, I was talking to some energy guys last night, and they go, you know what? When you guys are in charge, meaning Republicans, we like it because you basically leave us alone and you help energy production, but we make less money when you're in charge. They make more money when the Democrats are in charge because of their crazy policy, which shrinks supply, which increases the price on everybody.
Right.
This is what they're telling me. So when they try to talk about fiscal sanity, they're lying.
Right.
Because what they want to be able to do is massively juice spending and then raise taxes to cover it on the backside. And then when they talk about, we're going to cut spending, Drew, when they do it, they always do it in the out years, which you never get to because there's some other crisis, some other emergency, some other thing that has to happen.
Right. Yeah, and I wonder how we're going to be able to do this now with, the Fed chair and his testimony and some of the things that he's been talking about and, the concerns about soft landings and what's working with these interest rates and what's not working and trying to get things stable once again, price stability, if you will. And, I just wonder how this all ends. Is it something that, because I know this is something that you care deeply about and you are paying attention to and working with others to try to figure out, what direction, how we're going to shore all of this up. I mean, it's time is of the essence. And I guess that, how long can we wait before, people keep saying, recession, I don't feel it. I don't feel like anything's happening. I don't think we've been talking about it, but I don't see it. There's something to be said about the amount of hurt, you hate to say it, but the amount of hurt that people actually have to have in their world before they start waking up and realizing that something's wrong.
Well, I mean, if we're going to have a recession this year, I'm not sure. Right now it's probably 50-50 that we're going to have one. I know what we're going to have, and that's definitely a stagnant economy.
Yeah.
That's already starting to happen. The economy is slowing down. Every indicator says that. The second thing is this inflation is still lingering. We're now in the second year of it, so now prices are compounded over last year's inflation. And this White House is cheering the fact that, look, inflation numbers are coming back down. Dude, the prices have already been juiced. This is not just some ratio we're looking at. It's not just some percentage marker we're looking at. These are actual dollars being spent by the American people every single day. Their prices are already juiced. That's a significant problem because now we're in the second year. So that's our issue. How long until we get out of it? With the Fed, yeah, they're going to continue to raise rates, in my opinion. And then also, I think the bigger thing is they have to start shrinking their balance sheet even more because you got to pull all this excess money out of the system.
Right.
That is the fundamental number one problem. This is stuff that Milton Friedman was talking about 50 years ago about the problem and what the causations of inflation. It always goes back to massive government spending. And so you've got to pull that out. The Federal Reserve is one piece of that. The second piece of that is Congress. So when Joe Biden, in his budget plan, and I think because it's coming out today, I'm going to start reading more of it today. But if you're not talking about pushing down what we call the budget baseline, which is basically the level upon which every agency says this is how much money we need to survive, it all comes out of the baseline. If you don't push the budget baseline down to pre-COVID levels, just say, let's go back to pre-COVID spending.
Right.
Let's start there. If you're not doing that, you're not serious.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And some of the manipulation of the numbers too, when they're talking about let's just say the growth in jobs, the job numbers, and how they're saying, oh, look, we're starting to see some growth, when they don't tell you that there was a lack of jobs, job placement during the holiday season that was expected. And when there was a little more than what was expected, but it was low during the holiday season, and then there's a little more now in the following month, they make it sound like that's an increase, but they forget to tell you that the month before there was supposed to be a certain amount of jobs because of holiday season hiring that didn't happen. So all of a sudden it's like, well, you're manipulating the numbers. You're making it look like it's something that it's not.
Yep. No, you're absolutely correct. And so here's what I think is going to happen. One, we're already seeing the layoffs occur. I think layoffs are going to continue. Two, and this is the really sad part, this inflation, true, it's not going anywhere. The Fed is not being aggressive enough, in my opinion. There are even Democrats now who are starting to say that, which kind of shocked me. It floored me because, Jerome Powell was in our committee yesterday in financial services. You had Democrats who were like, hey, don't you think you guys should be more aggressive on this inflation thing?
Wow.
Because inflation doesn't care about your political party or your race or whatever. It comes for everybody.
Right.
And so they're trying to avoid triggering, quote unquote, a recession. But by doing so, they allow the inflation to stick around longer. And every month it sticks around, it is a cancer to the pocketbook of every American, especially people who are, living on the bottom end of the socioeconomic ladder. It's the worst for them.
Yeah. No doubt. Congressman Byron Donalds joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. Switching gears a little bit, because a couple of things that are going on I wanted to get your thoughts on. First of all, DHS Secretary Mayorkas, who I don't know if you heard about some of his comments from yesterday about what's going on along the border and what's happening nationally here. I just want to play this little clip of audio here as he's having a conversation about, look, when it comes to immigration and illegals in the country, it's happening all over the globe, Congressman.
Just deployed its military to its border. Colombia has 2.5 million Venezuelans within its borders. Costa Rica's population is increasingly Nicaraguan. We are seeing a movement of people throughout the hemisphere and, quite frankly, throughout the world that is historic.
That's all. Look, there's historic movement around the globe, Congressman, and so it's happening all over. So stop picking on us and trying to make it sound like we're some kind of exception. Globally, there are people moving around, so it's a global issue. Okay, well, I'm still worried about us. What is he talking about?
Why does this guy still have a job?
Right.
Like, this is the part that's just confusing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, look, a couple things. One, because Colombia actually has a functional economy and a functional government, and Venezuela is a dumpster fire. So, people are trying to go to Colombia. Duh, they share a border.
Right.
Like, they're right there. The second piece about Guatemala, people from Guatemala going into Costa Rica, that actually happens both ways. But, Costa Rica has a very vibrant tourist economy.
Right.
People go to the vacation. There are jobs there. Oh, by the way, Drew, they also share a border. What is this guy talking about? The issue we are having is that you have 184 countries, not just Mexico, that are coming through our southern border right now under this administration, claiming asylum, quote unquote, which is the weakest asylum claim ever. They're claiming asylum just to get into the United States. And this administration is letting it happen on purpose.
Right.
And then we still have massive illegal crossings. And so, let me take a step back, because I actually did the thing that is not good. I used the Democrats' own game. What they are doing is opening up a legal loophole for illegal immigration. That is all Joe Biden did with this asylum situation. So you could literally say, if you're crossing our border at an illegal point of entry, that's an illegal crossing. You're talking about, 7 to 8 million people, if not more, in his 2 years as president?
Right.
That's crazy. Never happened before in the history of our country.
Right.
That is nuts. That's what they're doing. I don't want to hear about Colombia and Costa Rica.
Right. And the costs that FAIR did a study, talked about the costs, at least $151 billion each year to cover the costs, $182 billion to provide services, benefits to illegals and their dependents, and all the money. I mean, it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of strain on the system, let alone the fentanyl issue and everything else that we, human trafficking, all of these different things that in another era would be almost impeachable to be discussing what is happening to this country and the fentanyl issue and how it's just brushed off.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And then, so when these guys come out with their statements and they testify in front of Congress, that's when you get these clips where members are battling, because number one, we're like furious, and then on the second side, the Dems are like, we just want to commend the administration for their humane treatment. Humane treatment? Are you crazy? Their policy is leading to young girls being raped by the coyotes or being sold into sex slavery by the drug cartels. And the Democrats who say, oh, they're for women, they say jack. Ooh, you almost had to mute me. They say nothing. It's frustrating, man.
Yeah.
They say nothing about the young girls who are assaulted in this process.
Yeah.
And it is because of Joe Biden. So I don't want to hear from Democrats talking about how they stand for women. No, they don't. Not all the time. Not in this.
Yeah.
And it's a travesty.
Yeah. And quickly before we go, we got about 2 minutes. I just wanted to ask you about this. Look, we constantly hear about people being described as domestic terrorists and people that show up at school board meetings and that horrific situation that we've heard about in the past. But listen, I know you saw the audio. I hope others have seen the audio of these was it Antifa, whoever it was, these extremists, these real domestic terrorists in Atlanta, and what they were doing and gathering and what they were doing against this training facility there in Atlanta. Do people see this in D.C.? Are they willing to recognize that this is what domestic terrorism looks like? Do you want to know? We've got the video. Here it is. What are you doing there? And who are you describing as the anarchists and the troublemakers? And who are you not describing as the anarchists and the troublemakers? And it appears as if this is where we need to focus. Can you maybe just, in a quick minute, just comment on that?
Oh yeah, that video is
shocking.
Not
yes.
shocking like it happens. It's shocking that you have an entire political party and media apparatus that ignores it.
Right.
They just act like it doesn't exist. They're see no evil, hear no evil when it comes to Antifa. You know, I remember, what was it? Joe Biden said, "Oh, that's an idea."
Right.
Like, well, Joe Biden, go look at the tape. There's your idea.
Yep.
That's my comment right now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look, what we got to get to, Drew, is let's just be consistent about what's happening. If we're consistent, let's talk about domestic terror. Be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Do it all the way across the board. Last piece I'll say, the FBI does not look at domestic terror with respect to political affiliation. They actually don't track it by political affiliation. Do you know why? Because if they did, they would have to actually say that most of it happens on the left side of our politics. That's why the FBI doesn't track it by political affiliation.
Yeah. Congressman Byron Donalds and his Thursday visit, we always appreciate him taking a few minutes of his time there to join us, and we appreciate it on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. All right, my friend, we'll see you soon, okay? All the best.
See you, Drew.
Okay.